David Grann, The Wager, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny and Murder. Step back into the tumultuous world of the 18th century high seas with The Wager, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny and Murder by David Grann. This riveting narrative examines the harrowing voyage of the HMS Centurion and its fleet during the War of Jenkins' Ear, when Britain's naval ambitions clashed with Spanish realities. Dive into the life of David Cheap, an ambitious officer stranded in perilous waters, whose leadership is both challenged and reshaped by the ferocious elements and desperate circumstances faced by the crew. From the morality of leadership to the survival of the men against scurvy, typhoid, and extreme weather, this story uncovers the visceral truths of maritime warfare. Engage with themes of ambition, survival, and human resilience as the book unfolds the drama of a shipwrecked crew on a forsaken island, forced into choices between following a struggling captain and navigating their own path to safety.
Captain against the odds. David Cheap yearned for command, spending countless years in navigating the treacherous seas, yet his ambition of becoming a captain remained elusive until September 1740. Serving as the first lieutenant aboard the HMS Centurion, he had been second in command of a powerful squadron. This fleet, spearheaded by the 60-gun Centurion, included the Gloucester, Severn, Pearl, Wager, and the modest 8-gun sloop, Trial. Under their mission, they would round Cape Horn to enter the Pacific, aiming to disrupt Spanish colonies and seize trade routes. In the backdrop of the ongoing War of Jenkins' Ear against Spain, a conflict sparked by such events as a British merchant losing his ear to a Spanish officer's sword, the British sought to undermine their adversaries' influence. The naval squadron had explicit orders to target a Spanish galleon laden with treasure, its riches intended for acquiring coveted Asian goods. Yet, manning these vessels was no simple task. The war, far from galvanizing recruits, had led to press gangs combing the English dockyards for suitable men. In this desperate search, boys as young as 6, the elderly, the ill, and even criminals were forcibly taken aboard. These men, deemed by an admiral as the very refuse of London, often bore lice, at the time unknowingly harboring the typhoid fever that would plague them. The Centurion set sail with hopes of reaching a crew of 500, while the Wager carried 250 soldiers. Among these, the Wager hosted young midshipman John Byron, a gentleman by birth destined to become Lord Byron's grandfather. As the squadron commenced its journey on September 18, 1740, led by Commodore George Anson at the helm of the Centurion, a pivotal change emerged when a captain requested to step down. This moment transformed Cheap's career, as he was granted his long-desired position of captain, albeit of the diminutive Trial. Thus, amidst the hostile seas and uncertain fates, he assumed command, now officially Captain Cheap, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead on their daring voyage. Perilous seas and unrelenting foes. In the perilous waters off Madeira, rumors circulated that Admiral Don José Pizarro and his Spanish armada lurked nearby, poised to thwart Commodore Anson's mission. Anson, seizing this intelligence, stealthily navigated his British squadron through the night, determined to evade the Spanish threat. However, Pizarro, relentless in pursuit, shadowed them all the way to the treacherous currents of Cape Horn. Even as they battled external foes, the squadron faced grim challenges from within. Soon after leaving Madeira, typhoid fever began its grim harvest, claiming 65 lives by the time they neared South America in December. By January, anchored at St. Catherine off the Brazilian coast, the death toll had climbed to 160, including the captain of the Wager, prompting David Cheap to take command of the 24-gun warship, the Wager. As if typhoid weren't enough, a new enemy emerged, scurvy. This insidious disease overwhelmed entire bodies, starting as a mere ache but soon inflicting horrific symptoms, bulging eyes, fallen teeth, and skin that turned black. John Byron described its grip as the most violent suffering imaginable, pushing some to welcome death as a respite. The Wager initially sailed with 250 men, but their number dwindled to below 200. On the Centurion, fewer than half of the original 500 crew survived, threatening the ship's ability to function smoothly and increasing the risk of disaster with each loss. As the shadow of Pizarro's armada loomed continually and the relentless Atlantic storms menaced from all sides, the crew of the Wager faced an unyielding reality. Each morning brought fresh burials at sea, with death a constant companion on their harrowing journey. Fury near Cape Horn. Venture into the tempestuous waters of the southern hemisphere, where nature's wrath grows fiercer the farther south you sail. At 40 degrees latitude, the roaring 40s test the mettle of any seafarer. Yet the journey only intensifies in the furious 50s and the screaming 60s. The merciless winds and mountainous waves of these realms are formidable adversaries, laced with icy projectiles and hidden dangers. This was the daunting challenge faced by Anson's squadron as they attempted to round Cape Horn. Their voyage plunged them into the heart of the furious 50s, battling winds so severe they hurled ships sideways, waves so massive they threatened to overwhelm them. Among this chaos, sailors had to skillfully avoid perilous reefs and navigate some of the planet's strongest currents. Drake Passage became their battleground, a month-long struggle against elements bent on their destruction. Aboard the Wager, conditions were dire. Gales shredded sails, a towering wave snapped the crucial mizzenmast, and the crew succumbed to the ravages of scurvy. Isolated from the squadron after losing sight of other ships, the Centurion, Pearl, and Severn, the Wager found itself alone, struggling through blinding storms. Yet under Captain Cheap's determined guidance, they achieved the rare success of steering a warship beyond the Horn's clutches. Relief was fleeting, though, as they turned into the Pacific. On May 13, 1741, the Wager's luck faltered once more, crashing onto rocks in the aptly named Gulf of Pain, Golfo de Penas. Though spared the furious seas, the crew faced a new challenge along Patagonia's harsh and jagged coastline, a treacherous mooring where desperation clung as heavily as the storm clouds haunting their journey. Survival on Wager Island. When the Wager began its descent beneath the seas, a quick-thinking effort slowed the disaster, allowing many to escape the doomed ship. Among the surviving crew, 145 men and several boys reached safety with the help of smaller transport boats, specifically, a 25-foot cutter, a 24-foot barge, and an 18-foot yawl. The survivors soon established themselves on what they named Wager Island, a new, albeit temporary, home. Ingenious minds like John Bulkley, the ship's gunner, repurposed the cutter into a makeshift roof, forming the beginnings of a small community, complete with makeshift shelters and a central path serving as the main street. However, the euphoria of survival turned into a grim reality as food supplies ran dangerously short. The island offered little in sustenance beyond seaweed, but fortunately, wild celery scavenged from the land helped stave off scurvy. Yet, as time dragged on, starvation took lives, and some resorted to cannibalism. The dire conditions frayed nerves and ignited tensions among the men. Amidst this desperation, leadership challenges emerged. Captain Cheap, the authority figure, faced growing criticism and resentment due to his failure to secure rescue or improve conditions. The crew began rallying around Bulkley, who became a focal point of clandestine gatherings as whispered talks of mutiny surfaced. Despite this brewing unrest, Bulkley hoped to grant Captain Cheap a chance to redeem his role. The situation dramatically deteriorated when Henry Cousins refused a command, leading to accusations of drunkenness and confinement. Released and agitated, Cousins publicly lashed out against Captain Cheap, reflecting the simmering discontent. Tensions boiled over when a squabble over meager rations led to gunfire, resulting in a tragic misunderstanding. Captain Cheap mistakenly believed Cousins was the shooter and, in a fateful moment of misjudgment, executed him in front of the stunned onlookers. This brutal act only in triumph and turmoil. With the passing of Cousins, an extraordinary plan emerged. Cummins, a resourceful carpenter, envisioned salvaging a damaged 36-foot longboat. Not just to fix it, but to stretch it by an additional 12 feet and equip it with 2 wooden masts, all from the remains of a sunken wreck. This audacious task demanded that the desperate survivors, teetering on the brink of death themselves, pierce through the vessel's submerged side and invest weeks of rigorous effort. Miraculously, their collective determination birthed a functional makeshift sailboat, aptly named the Speedwell, after 144 days stranded on the barren Wager Island. But crafting the Speedwell only spawned new dilemmas. Bulkley, one of the leaders, proposed a daring voyage back via Cape Horn's treacherous waters, aiming for the comparative safety of Portuguese-controlled Brazil. The intendment suggested a reliance on not just Speedwell but the cutter and barge as well. Meanwhile, Captain Cheap harbored dreams of heading north to rejoin their squadron. At this juncture, the island held 91 survivors, with most siding with Bulkley's proposal. Despite extending an offer for Captain Cheap to join the voyage, even as a captive facing trial for Cousin's murder, he chose to remain on the island, accompanied by 19 loyalists including John Byron. On October 14, 1741, 5 grueling months post-wreck, the group departed, led by Bulkley. Their odyssey faced adversity, with more lives claimed en route, but on January 28, 1742, Bulkley and 28 men triumphantly arrived at Brazil's Rio Grande. The Speedwell, a testament to their resilience, rapidly fascinated the locals, catching even the governor's eye. Soon after, Bulkley dispatched word to British naval authorities, citing Cheap's decision to stay behind. Meanwhile, Captain Cheap's small cohort pursued the northern route, initially refurbishing their remaining crafts before setting sail from Wager Island on December 15. Their attempts were ultimately halted by formidable natural forces, compelling a return to the desolate isle. Their fortunes shifted with the arrival of Martin, a helpful Patagonian who offered a path to nearby Chiloé Island, a Spanish stronghold. Venturing forth on March 6, 1742, they faced more loss and distrust towards their unusual guide. Yet, perseverers like Byron and Cheap pressed on through arduous land and water routes, reaching Chiloé by June. Their arrival led to unexpected capture by the Spanish, resulting in 7 months of confinement. However, a turn of events brought about their release, when they were even entertained by Don José Pizarro, an erstwhile adversary. Returning to London, the news of Captain Cheap's survival was met with astonishment, overshadowed by another revelation. During his absence, Bulkley had published his journals, painting Cheap in an unflattering light, hinting at negligence and murder. Amidst the attention, a stellar but grim tale unfolded about Commodore George Anson. His successful conquest of a Spanish galleon during the voyage around the Horn earned rewards for his crew aboard the Centurion, one of the few uplifting narratives emerging from the War of Jenkins' Ear. Yet, Captain Cheap's return unwound debates of misconduct and potential mutiny. However, a 13-judge court-martial in 1746 focused narrowly on the wreck, ultimately absolving all involved, silencing inquiries about the island's desperate saga. Captain Cheap retained his rank, and was seafaring once more within 8 months. As more tales of their expedition emerged, glorifying the Centurion's prestige, history would choose these triumphs to dwell upon, leaving the complexities of leadership and survival on Wager Island as whispers in the wind.
David Grann's The Wager paints a vivid portrayal of human tenacity amidst maritime chaos, where leadership, loyalty, and survival instincts are put to the ultimate test. As David Cheap and his crew navigate storms, sickness, and the treacherous Cape Horn, the stark realities of life at sea become part of their everyday struggle. The conflict between Captain Cheap and his crew, particularly with the resourceful John Bulkley, brings to light timeless questions about command and accountability. The tale of mutiny and near murder, intertwined with elements of hope, ingenuity, and perseverance, leaves an indelible mark, illustrating the thin line between order and chaos. Grann offers a window into the past, capturing an era defined by its exploration spirit and the relentless pursuit of glory, reminding us of the remarkable human capacity to endure and adapt in the face of adversity.